I've been playing Minecraft for over a decade now, and for the past 4 years I have continuously played on a singular survival world. There's a certain sense of satisfaction that can only be achieved by playing on the same world long term, and personally it has been one of the prominent reasons I continue to play the game after all this time. Recently I posted a video covering how I've been able to enjoy a long-term Minecraft world and tips you can follow to enjoy a long-term survival world of your own. Since you guys really seem to like it, today I'm gonna bring you 10 more tips to having that one world you can play on endlessly and avoid ever getting bored. Last time I discussed broader topics on different aspects of the game you could utilize to keep the game feeling fresh and keeping yourself motivated. This time, however, I'm gonna focus on more specific projects and goals you can use to continuously enjoy one world, and different types of projects you can take on to keep your experience interesting, as well as providing you with plenty of content. Now, just a disclaimer, while these tips will be helpful, no pointers will work if you don't play in moderation. I play Minecraft practically year-round, but I don't play hours on end every day. No matter what you do, if you play to an extreme amount, you're going to get burnt out. So play in moderation. And with that out of the way, let's get to tip number 1. One of the best ways to enjoy a long-term Minecraft world is to switch up the way you actually play the game. While I mentioned this tip in my previous video covering a long-term Minecraft world, this tip can be widely expanded upon, and I want to specifically apply this tip to your builds. Minecraft is a sandbox game, and one of, if not its most prominent gameplay appeal, is being able to build whatever you desire. The thing is though, most people tend to build the same structures over and over again with slightly different shapes and sizes. In modern Minecraft, there's basically endless blocks you can use for your build, and switching up the style and architecture of your build is a great way to explore new aspects of building that you haven't tried before. One of my favorite ways to do this is to split my world into sectors or separate towns based upon different biomes. Each town's theme, buildings, and architecture is related directly towards the biome it's in. For example, you could build a desert town with Western inspired builds, you can build a Japanese style building in a cherry blossom biome, you can make a jungle town where all the buildings are lifted up as tree houses, or you can make a igloo village in a winter town. This not only differentiates your world, but it allows you to learn new building techniques and styles that you just haven't tried before. The next tip also involves building different themed areas, but this time it's focused around seasons. And I don't mean in-game seasons, as currently Minecraft's different seasons are split into separate biomes. Depending on the time of year you're playing the game, you can make builds centered around the time of the year it is in the real world and the current weather you're experiencing. Similar to building different towns, you can make different sectors of your world that you work on depending on the time of year to fit your current vibe. During the summer, you can make a custom beach and resort with pools and a volleyball net. During October, you can focus on making Halloween-based structures. During the winter and holiday season, you can build stuff like the North Pole or an ice castle. To even add on top of this, if you play on Java, you can get texture packs to fit the current season you're in. This allows you to continue playing on vanilla while adding seasons in a certain sense to your game. I personally love using texture packs to change the leaves and grass to orange and red in the fall and white in the winter. Seasonal builds allow you to play your world throughout the year and feel like the world is progressing with your calendar. The next tip I have involves building functional structures in your world. Whether you're playing with friends or alone, making builds that have actual functional features that make them interactive and more than just eye candy can go a long way towards bringing your world to life and overall just letting you enjoy roaming around your world more. By functional structures, I don't mean XP farms either. I'm referring to builds like working roller coasters or creating your own mini games to play when you're tired of building. Even if you're alone in your world, create things like secret rooms that lead to a lair behind a bookcase, or create a DJ booth that plays music for your villagers. I think you understand the concept. These builds not only push you to learn a little bit of redstone, which I'm sure a very large portion of the community has highly underutilized in their world, but it also just allows you to enjoy your world more during downtime. If you hop on your world for even 30 minutes just to walk around and relax a little bit, now you have builds you can actually interact with and games to play. My next tip for you is to subscribe if you are enjoying this video so you never miss out on future videos just like this one. And if you have found any of these tips so far useful, please do me a favor and hit that like button so I know you guys want to see more content like this. You did it? Great, thanks. Now, I already discussed multiple ways to split up your style of builds through different biome-based villages and different seasonal sectors of your world. But if these aren't enough to make your game feel different, it might be time to colonize other dimensions. The Nether and the End, while vastly dangerous, have their complete own set of blocks and rules when it comes to living there. These dimensions, while hostile, provide you with a huge opportunity for making unique builds that also are going to challenge you as well. I'm sure everyone goes to both the Nether and the End every once in a while to harvest some resources, but instead of hopping through an unprotected portal, why don't you build some bases or even an entire colony in these dimensions? The End Island is also a great place to build some beautiful structures, and I've seen so many people turn it into builds that are truly spectacular. If you're like myself and are still dying for Mojang to give us an end update, why don't you build your own on the End Island, splitting it into new end biomes using a variety of the blocks already found in game. You can make giant crystals, new tree types, maybe even caves going throughout the island, basically whatever you want. This tip really applies to everybody, but it's gonna help people who are bored of building in the overworld the most. If you've already been playing your world for ages, it might be time to start conquering other dimensions. Another way you can enjoy your Minecraft world long term is by adding more content, and one of the best ways to do that is through collecting. I also mentioned this tip in my last video, but I applied it to rare items, blocks, and anything of that nature. But why stop there? You can also collect things like weapons, tools, and armor. While not everybody enjoys the grind of maxing out gear, I know some people, myself included, do enjoy the grind of searching for the enchantment books and getting the right librarian trades to make the best possible gear. For those of you who do enjoy this, why stop at one set of gear? While you may have a maxed out sword, why not make multiple swords targeted for different uses? What I mean by this is making another sword with enchantments maxed out, but rather than using sharpness, you use Bane of Arthropods to target spiders, then you can name your sword accordingly, calling it something like Silk Slayer. Giving it a legendary name also adds lore to your world and makes it feel like a mythical item rather than just any other weapon. You can then keep this gear in an armory that you fill with different weapons, tools, and gear like this. I mean, what about Frostwalker boots? I doubt many people have a pair of boots with maxed out enchantments and Frostwalker on it. Well, yeah, the weapon and gear won't be as practical or blatantly as good as just your regular maxed out version. The grind can still be fun, and who knows, maybe there will be an occasion where you do need gear with that set of specific enchantments. Currently, I'm trying to get a second trident with a Riptide build to use for movement, as my first trident is built around channeling and loyalty, and I'm also trying to get a second mace to give Windburst 3, as currently my mace has Windburst 1, which I find to be far more practical, but having both gives me a variety of options, and Windburst 3 could be used for things like fun mini games. If you want to take this a step further, you could also get a set of max gear for every armor trim in the game if you want to switch up your style. This is a great way for survival focused players and people who enjoy grinding for efficiency to give themselves tons of content and goals and basically just hours worth of playtime. My next tip is a shorter one, but it's simply just to revisit old projects you maybe abandoned or builds you made a long time ago that just feel outdated compared to the rest of your world. As time goes on and you get more experience, your builds are going to appear far more impressive than the ones you made in the earliest stages of your world. Some of your old builds may simply just be ugly and could use a fresh coat of paint, so why not go back and update them? One thing to mention, however, is that depending on the person, it can be nice to go back and see your old builds as a contrast to your new ones, showing how you've improved with time. I'd recommend that if a lot of your old builds are confined in one specific area, you should leave it there and turn it into a form of history museum that can be visited to remind you of the earliest versions of your world. Now, in contrast, if you have one old ugly building in the middle of a bunch of newly built structures, I would highly recommend fixing them up to fit your surrounding area. Now, the next two tips focus on filling empty spaces between your builds. The first tip is to look at your current town and identify spaces between buildings and houses that just feel underdeveloped or plainly just empty, and find a smaller build to fill it with or use terraforming to give it a visual upgrade. This is perfect for when you don't feel like taking on a big build and just want to do something short and simple. These little builds in between major structures could be flower and crop fields, wells, boiling pots, little tents, storage carts, and so on. The second tip focused on filling these empty spaces between your builds is to create paths connecting all your different builds. This can be applied both within a village and between villages. Connecting different houses in a town with a path that can also have things like lampposts going alongside it really does go a long way towards transforming your town. And a more major project you can take on is to build large roads or even railroads with mine carts connecting different towns and districts in your world. This makes your different towns feel more like one interconnected world rather than a bunch of different bases scattered around. Moving on from building, one way to continuously enjoy one world is simply just to complete all the game's achievements and advancements. This probably seems like a no-brainer, but not everybody has completed all the achievements, and if you're looking for something to do in your world that gives you the chance to take a step back from building and focus on a little more of a survival aspect feature, these are a great little challenge to differentiate your gameplays, and at times it does force you to explore new gameplay elements you maybe haven't played around with. Now, my last tip is simply just to take it slow, especially with your builds and projects. Focus on putting more time and effort into a few builds at a time rather than making a bunch of big basic builds. Not only does this take longer, providing you with more content, it's also just far more satisfying to look back on, as the builds will visually be much better the more time you take to work on them. Enjoy the process of building these structures. Don't just build a bunch of houses for the sake of building a bunch of houses. Enjoy the process. And with that, those are 10 tips I personally use to enjoy playing on one Minecraft world long term and avoid getting burnt out. I'm no Minecraft professional, my builds aren't the best out there, but I enjoy playing on this world nonetheless. So hopefully, no matter your skill level or expertise, these tips can be helpful towards playing on the same world for a really long time. Remember though that at the end of the day, all these tips still only work if you play in moderation, as burnout is inevitable with anything you do if you just do it too much. But what do you think of these tips? Were they helpful? Were they not? I'd love to hear what you guys think about these, so leave any thoughts and ideas you have down in the comments below. With that said, if you did enjoy the video, a like is greatly appreciated and goes a long way towards helping the channel out, as well as subscribing so you don't miss out on another video just like this one. That's it for today, guys. I highly recommend you go check out my last video on how to enjoy a long-term Minecraft world, as that video will also have a bunch of highly beneficial and broader tips. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.